Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Let's see. All right. Guess we can get started with this. All right. So this is where I guess where we stopped last week, or where I stopped last week. Anyways, where I stopped last week, I was implementing this LRU cache, and it was supposed to follow this particular description here, which is like, so we can specify a cache size, then it does like a least recently used cache, which 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 is you can store values in the cache, and if the maximum capacity for the cache has been gotten, then it evicts the cache, an item in the cache that has been used the least, right? Uh, so yeah, there were a couple of hiccups along the way, but it's worked to some extent. And so where I stopped in the last video, in the last stream, was I was trying to make this more generic, so that to start with making the values generic, right, and then maybe make the keys generic as well, so we can use different types, pass different types into the cache. But before doing that, one pet peeve I'm having is the get method is mute, and I would like to quickly explore how to get rid of this mute. Right. I think I ran the test. Yeah, so running cargo test works. All right, so I think we can start with that then. So if I get rid of this, uh, command is not available. Make sure it's installed. Okay, thank you. I don't know what that is. Uh, um, I guess. Mm, I guess disable. I don't know. Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's get rid of that. And okay, so so I got rid of the mute here, and this is complaining because yeah, refresh needs to be borrowed mutably, and I believe the reason why. Okay, so let me just get rid of that as well. Let's do like compiler-driven development. I thought I disabled this. And now this is failing as well, right? Okay, let me reload. Does that break anything? Okay, so anyways, as long as it works. Okay, cool. All right. So the error is no more showing, but I think it's just the whole restarting the IDE is making the whole thing recompile. Either ways, let me just run this cargo test to figure it out, right? Okay, so the error is saying self.list.remove is a reference, so the data it refers to cannot be borrowed as mutable. And I believe the issue with that is because list here is our hash, is our vector. And when you try and remove from the vector, you need a mutable reference to the vector itself. And I think the way to solve this, if I remember correctly, is let me check refcell. Hold on. I think it's refcell, right? I know I mentioned this a while back. So yeah. By the way, what's the difference between a cell and a ref cell again? So anyways, a ref cell is a mutable memory location with dynamically checked borrow rules. Oh yeah, so I think the difference between a ref cell and a cell, if I remember correctly, was one allows you to borrow mutably and the other one just allows you to get a mutable object out. I'm going to use a ref cell for now, and if I figure out when to use a cell, I'll figure that part out. And so to use a ref cell, yeah, you create a ref cell, and then I think the word we need is this get mute. Oh, sorry, borrow mute, right? So borrow mute will return a mutable reference, and then we can use the mutable reference to like remove or insert things into. So going back to here, so what that means is I need to change this vector with a ref cell, I think. So let's say this is a ref cell, this, right? Then, okay, so it's complaining, cannot find ref cell. Is that a quick fix? Yeah, imports. Okay. So I think that imports the ref cell. Then we update this, I think it's ref cell new, right? Okay. Okay, so now our list is a ref cell. And okay, it seems we need to do a bunch of quick refactoring as well. So you send a method named len on the ref cell, method not found. So I think, yeah, so we need to be doing things like borrow. Well, this doesn't sound like a really neat API. It's probably a better way to fix this. And okay, I think let me start from the top. Let me start from here, right? So now to fix this, I think we need to do self.list or like borrow mute, right? And then remove. And I think same thing for here, self.mute or borrow mute, and then push, right? But there's a problem here because, okay, so here it's just saying we should borrow as well, right? But, oh, that works. Interesting. Let me move this to the new line. Right. Just to make it clear. Okay. So what this is doing is, and I hope this my color scheme here is not confusing, but the purple things are the like the type for the last expression on that line. So in this case, so yeah, in this case, I'm taking out of the ref cell, and then getting the iterator and position. And same thing, same thing. Then inside the iflets, I check if there's an item at that position, and then I'm removing from our list, right? Then to just repeat the same thing for the remaining parts. So it's borrow this, yes, and here as well we're saying borrow, right? Oh, borrow mute, sorry. Yeah, this should be borrow mute, right? And I think we might have an issue. What's the problem here? So wait, what? Yeah, so the problem is cannot borrow data in in um in the reference of this as mutable traits is required to modify a reference. Oh, sorry, this should also be borrow mute because we are removing from the list. Borrow mute, right? Because we are removing from the list, right? And yeah, I believe we don't need to make any change here because this is already mute. But what this means is if now any if a function is just trying to get something out of the cache, we don't need to make it mute. We don't need to make that function take a mutable reference. Now it just needs to take a reference to the cache, and the whole interior mutability thing should work as expected, right? So let me run the test to see. Let's clear this cargo test, right? And yay, this works, right? And it's better. It's way better now. Okay, so with that in, I hope I believe there might be a better way to not have to like borrow mute everywhere. For example, I'm thinking this is just simple, like to get the same reference, right? So it's like I could do list and then but borrow the mutable list itself, right? Right, and then okay, yeah, I need to get rid of this whole one, and I think this, right, does okay. Okay. And we have a problem. Why? So the oops, sorry. So it says cannot borrow list as mutable as it is not. Oh yeah, this should be list mute. Right. I think this is a little bit better because now it's like borrow, like we're only borrowing once, and then using the single mutable reference to the list or the vector in this case. And I think we can also do something similar here, right? Because let's just clean that up as well. So we can get a mutable list this, and I think replace all of this with list, right? And yeah, and all of this with list as well, right? And to confirm, just run the tests again. And the test is failing because already mutable borrowed. Okay, so what was the error? The error is, so this is a runtime panic, right? I think, because there's no reference to anywhere in the compiler, but it's saying it's panicked at already mutably borrowed error. So I think this is also a problem with like interior mutability and all this other stuff, because now we are leaving it up to the compiler to the actual runtime to figure out why we are mutably borrowing. But I think I might have. Yeah, I know where the issue is. It's here. So the problem here is first, I'm borrowing it mutably, right? And to check in here, I am trying to I'm trying to borrow immutably. Yeah, I think I should look for a better word for like mute and immutably. But anyways, so and because of Ross invariants, where it's like you can only have one mutable reference or multiple immutable reference, and not any of both. Yeah. Anyways, so this will fail, right? And I guess the easiest way to just fix this would be we just like revert the changes here, right? For now. Yeah, and I think that works. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, it works now. Tests pass. Cool. Okay, so now to making this generic, right? I think I started something around that. Something around that. What's it, last week? And I know there were some issues. So I'm trying to figure out what was the issue. But let's just start all over, right? And we'll see how that is going. Let me see if there's any questions so far, because I don't have okay, doesn't look like there are any questions so far, or at least any significant question. So I'm trying to stream to two different to stream and to Twitch and YouTube, and so it's a little bit hard to keep track of both. Anyways, this should be fun. Okay, so now what we want is let me make this a template V, and ideally I want we'll start with the values first, and then we can maybe generalize on the keys as well. So for now, I just want to store a V, a type V, and well, our FSL still keeps track of keys, so I think that should be fine. Saving this makes everything break, so let's keep following the compiler to fix this, right? We want V. I think I need to do this as well, because V is a type that needs to be defined somewhere. And just doing this alone, we get another error down here. And the error is mismatched type is expecting a struct string, and it found a reference, right? So our function get is returning a string, but we want it to return the actual value V. So we do V for here, right? And now it's saying, sorry, what's the error? V does not implement clone. So reference V was cloned instead. Interesting. I think that's fine. What we just need to do here, I think, is to do this, right? I think let me even do like, I believe there's a copy, there's clone, right? Yeah, so I'm basically saying V should be bounded by this particular trait that it should be copyable and it should be clonable. And that fixes this error here, right? Because now V can be cloned and that works. Then what else? I think everything. Okay, so there's another error down here, which is mismatch type is expecting type V. Okay, so our set method is taking a reference to a string and a reference to a key that is a reference to a string and a value that is a reference to a string. And so this needs to change. And let's see. So if I do this, although if I remember correctly, I think there's something called as ref, right? Let's see what does as ref say? Or rather, what's the error? So the error is saying add dyn keyword before this trait. Okay, let me see what as ref does again. Because if I'm adding dyn, then it means like a pointer. How do you search here? Let me just do, I think at the top, right? See as ref. Yeah, I think I don't know if it's standard convert or core convert. Interesting. I would pick this one, right? So as ref is used to do a cheap reference to reference conversion. So the trait is similar to as mute, which is used for converting between mutable references. If you need to do a costly conversion, it is best to implement from with type this. Okay. So is there an example? Okay, so in this example here, note that due to historic reasons, the above currently does not hold generally for all the blah, 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 blah. Instead, many smart pointers provide an asref implementation, which simply returns a reference to the pointed to value. So, however, asref should not be used for the sole purpose of dereferencing. Okay, so they're saying you should avoid using this to get a reference. It's better you just do this, right? Since deref would pick that up. Okay, yeah, I guess I wonder why. So what is what is the best use case for asref, right? By using traits bounds, we can accept arguments of different types as long as they can be converted to the specific type T. Oh, I see. Okay, so I guess in our case here, it probably doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to use asref in trait bounds. Oh, of course, because asref is actually a trait. Oh yeah, that makes more sense now. So asref is actually a trait, and so it's much more useful for like trait bound stuff. For this, I think we can just say we want a ref to whatever type we want there, right? Asref will be useful if, for example, I want like V to be bound to something that implements or that is like implements a reference of like right, and then this ensures that everything like any implementation or any value we are using here would work. But in this case, that's not what I want, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. Okay, so I made this reference value and that fixes this error as well. Okay, but coming down to our test now, so our cache is failing because it says the size for the value of type string cannot be known at compilation. Okay. Oh yes. So now that we are using actual types, it means this whole thing needs to like change, right? I think. Maybe not that. Let me see. So the traits bound string copy is not satisfied. Okay. So I guess the problem here, so it's funny how Rust does this thing where it kind of compiles your whole program and then gives you an error at the top, right? And I think the major issue here is that our string, so when we do a string, so to string returns a string, right? The problem is the string type doesn't actually implement the copy, doesn't actually implement the copy trait. It only implements the clone trait, right? And I think there's a way to fix this. There's a way to actually fix this, but to make this easier for now, actually, yeah, I'm going to, so to make this work, let me see if I don't require the type to be bounded by as in like the copy trait, right? Okay, that fixes this, but we still have an error here. It's saying expected this, found this. Okay, so what does our set do? Oh, okay, our set is expecting a reference. Okay, so if that's the case, then I think we can just get rid of this then, because, and now what is the problem? It's like playing Russian roulette. The size for the value of type string cannot be known at compile time. Oh, okay, let's do, so if I do this instead, then make this a reference as well. So what I'm doing here is what's going on? Remove the extra argument key. Where's the extra argument? That's weird. Oh, okay, I think it's all these plugins messing things up. But yeah, so I'm doing a toString here, which is create a string. I'm passing a reference of that string in. And here as well, I'm just going to repeat the same thing, right? And do toString. Okay. And let's see where this goes. Oh, okay, so I think everything looks green. Let me run the test again. Clear cargo test. And the tests pass. So what does this mean for me? Okay, so it means right now I have, let's get rid of that. So this function, this test here, let me rename it to it works for strings, right? Now let me try, it works for, let me just do numbers, right? Right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. Right, paste this here. And I'm basically going to repeat the same thing, but I want to try it with a number. I'll try with a number, right? So let's say, yeah, that, right? We're storing key 1 as this. Getting rid of all of this, storing this as 2, right? Okay. Yeah, this is failing because, all right. Okay, yeah, so I just need to kind of replace all this. So let's, oops. Okay, all of this go sum2, go sum1, right? And just to make things easier, I'm going to get rid of all of this because it's like the first test kind of does that, so why not? Right, so we're running these 2 tests now. Okay, so it's saying, oh yeah, because I need to run tests. To run a test, I need to annotate it with like what's it called? Actually, what's this thing called again? It's like a macro, I think. But yeah, I need to annotate it with like the test macro and then running the test now. And our two tests pass. It works for numbers, it works for strings. Okay, cool. All right. And okay, so I think this works. One test I could do as well is like have my custom type. So let me have like let me call it like struct. Okay, let's say I have this, right? And I want to be able to I want to kind of like I want to basically run a test for person as well. Oops. Why isn't this okay, yeah. Ooh, this looks interesting because so this is Copilot working here, right? It's suggesting that I run this test and I'm just going to say yes and go through what's oh yeah, of course it's not that it's not that easy. So here it's saying the error, the trait bound. Okay, so the issue here is because person is not implementing clone, right? And I think the easiest way to do that would just be to use the like the Rust. So that's oh sorry. What the heck did I just press? Wait, did my keyboard just change its language on me? Um okay. Anyways, yeah, I'm just going to use this. Right. Yeah, derive. So I think I want to derive clone. Yeah. Okay. So by specifying derive clone, it's the Rust compiler. Well, the Rust derive, what's it called? Is it macro? Will generate clone implementations for this. And I think it only works if all the children in here implement clone. And so name implements clone, age implements clone. And I think that should be fine. And the error on the new is no more there. However, there's an error down here because it's saying binary operation. So the assert uses equal to, right? And I think we need to implement partial equal as well for this to work. So I'm going to come up here and use the compiler magic as well. Well, compiler magic to, I might just do debug as well, but I don't think I need to print anything out. Okay, and so that works. I know it feels like magic, but Copilot is responsible for most of the magic. And I didn't have to write so much code. Yeah, and that works as well. So I think that achieves my aim of trying to make this generic, like work for generic types. However, the ultimate goal for me in this series really, because I'm trying to refresh Rust, right? So the ultimate goal for me is I want this, I want to kind of like, okay, start with basic stuff like this and then move out into like making this cache like a server that you can send requests to. It writes those requests and reads those requests. I'm sorry, and then you can like have multiple clients interacting with like the cache, right? Kind of like Redis. So it's like a poor man's Redis, but yeah, but done this way. And so one thing I think might be useful is to one thing I think might be useful is to actually store some of these values as like bytes, right? Binary. I mean, I'm just testing this out because I'm supposed to go straight to like the server side of things as well. But let me see. Hold on, let me check the chat just to be sure again. Done. Okay. And all right, all right, all right. Nothing there. Cool. Um, okay, so I want to try, what if I want items to be serializable as bytes, right? I'm sorry, what's it called? I want the values to be serializable as bytes, right? Same thing with the key as well. Like, so I want an LRU cache that takes generic key and value, but the keys and values should be serializable as bytes. And this will help down the line when I'm trying to like store things, maybe in a file system or maybe even using like Redis under the hood, right? To try and speed things up. Because I think I've given up on trying to speed this refresh logic up. Because for now, what we are doing is we're iterating through all the items and then pushing everything, which is not so efficient. So I might, as opposed to implementing like a full, as opposed to implementing a full, maybe efficient solution and all that, I think it would serve me better if I just replace this underlying logic with like with Redis, right? With Redis, but to do that, I need to ensure all values as serial can be serialized to something, right? That works. So I think there are two ways to do this. I was thinking just make it bytes, right? So I was thinking something like let values be able to implement. Um, I think is it two? Um, sorry. What's the opposite of from? Hold on. Let me check. The I think is it's yeah, this guy, right? So we have the from. We have into. Yeah, that's the word, into. I'm looking for this. So what I'm thinking is let's let whatever value you are passing in be bounded by this into trait, which means it should implement or kind of implement uh, something that can be turned into something, right? So they said prefer using into over from when specifying trait bounds on a generic function to ensure that types that only implement into can be used as well, right? And I think that's what I want to do here, which is like make this into actually, how do you represent bytes in this thing again? Is this a valid type? No, it's not. Okay. Um, actually, how do you do like I guess. I mean, I don't want to use a vector. Hold on. Let me check. I mean, we could just Google this, right? So, best way to represent bytes in Rust and bytes in Rust. Oh wait, there's a byte what? Okay. So there's a byte type in Rust. Let me make this bigger so everyone can see this. So the bytes crate provides an efficient bytes buffer structure, bytes, and traits for working with buffer implementations. So bytes is an efficient container for storing and operating on contiguous slices of memory. Okay. But where is it? Okay, bytes is just a crate. Oh goodness. Okay, so bytes is a crate, so it's an external library, but that is not what I want. I want. Hold on. Okay, maybe I can do this. Um, how do I convert a string into a vector of bytes in Rust? Stack Overflow to the rescue. Okay, so I guess it's okay, yeah, so this is what I want. Gives you a view of a string. Yeah, I mean, that's what I did here, right? So the error is saying is, but what if I do this? No, that doesn't make sense. Right? Because it's saying it's a byte slice, right? And therefore, and there's also a string into bytes, which will consume a string to give you a vector. Okay, so I guess it's a vector they use that is being used here, right? So if I want things to turn, if I want a value to be bounded by this, the problem here is what? Wait, what? Oh, okay. There's a missing. Oh my God, could that have been the problem? What the? Oh wow. Okay, so it's saying the size for value of type this cannot be known at compile time because the trait size is not implemented for U8. Okay, yeah, that makes sense because it's a slice, right? But what if I want it to be a reference? Can't you do that? Can you? Oh, okay. So I think this is where the old does this work? Yeah, let's test. Now this won't work because what? Wait, what? Why isn't it showing the error? So trait objects must include the dyn object. Add dyn keyword before this trait. Okay, so yeah, and now the problem is into what? Into what's the error message? Ah. So the error message is the size of the value of type this cannot be known. The trait size is not implemented. Okay. So into needs to be sized, right? Like it needs to be a specific size. I guess that makes sense. I'm just going to I'm going to dead the notion of using what's it called, references for now, and I'm just going to say something that can convert into a vector of bytes, right? Right. So something converting into a vector of bytes, and let me check. Okay. All right. And this actually, so this is causing a bunch of errors down here. And I mean, yeah, of course, it's it's going to cause that, right? And that's because, so here, okay, actually, so string works because string can, I guess, strings implements a from trait. Actually, we can look that up as well. So if we search for string, right? So the standard string type, if we scroll down here, yeah. So for the standard string type, it implements this traits, right? And if you check here, it implements where are you? Where are you? Yeah, it's going to implement, no, wait, what? So it implements from char, no. From bytes, no. Okay, so it's, I mean, if I check the blanket implementation here into U, right? So there's a blanket implementation here that says it implements into U for T for any type where, oh, of course, yeah. So So I'm looking for something. I mean, this interpretation is basically saying, let's say I'm looking for, I need a value that is bounded by an into vector bytes, right? Now, if if vector of bytes implements, if vector of bytes implements from string, then into that is implemented. So I'm actually looking in the wrong place. What I should be looking for is actually I think it's vec, right? Yeah, it's vec. And then let me see. Let me confirm this. Right. So checking here now. Ah, yeah, this is more blanket implementation, annoying stuff. But let me see. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm sure it's going to be covered because there's a bunch of like from vector of a type. Yeah, something like this, right? Something like, wait, what? Oh, really? So there's actually an optional. I didn't know about this allocator thing until now, but that's cool because I got confused there. Okay, so implementing from vector of any type. Yeah, I get confused. But what's important here? What's important here is that string is implementing the into as an into vector of bytes implementation already, which is why this test is working, right? But then this is failing because here we have an LRU cache that is storing I32, I32, right? Which is basically an 82-bit integer, signed integer, right? And because it's not implementing that, this whole thing is not useful. Okay. And so let's fix this, right? And the way to fix this really is, yeah, so this is going to be a little bit hard because I can't, or can I? I mean, so like the error message is really saying that, okay, so vector U8 from integer is not satisfied, right? So it's saying that it cannot get a U8 from an integer. Now, the problem with this is I can't even implement this because both the from and the integer and the vector and the U8, none of them belongs to my my projects or my library or crates or whatever. All right, and that won't work. And so I can't really implement that as well. So thinking out of this. So I guess the way to fix this is going to be I probably shouldn't implement this directly, right? I should probably have my own traits right here. So if I do like so let me create my own trait, right? Into bytes. I think that's the word. Right. And so here I'm saying this trait implements the into bytes functionality. And now I can say this just does into bytes. So I think what this will help me with here. Now what is the problem? So it's saying private trade this with public interface. Okay. So I could do pub. Right. Okay. So the problem here is, oh sorry, what this helps me with is now I can implement this on types like within the Rust ecosystem, right? So for example, I could do implement into bytes for string, exactly, right? And this does that, right? I can also do implement into bytes for, hold on, I32, does that work? Right? And yeah, and then I mean implementing this as well, right? Implement into bytes for this, and yeah, it makes my second test pass, right? but then it's not making this third one pass because into bytes person needs to be implement. I'm sorry, needs to implement into bytes as well, right? Okay, so can I just collapse all of this for now? Let me collapse the LRU cache, collapse my main function, so we can focus on just this into bytes straight, right? Okay, let me see. Do I have any chats? Okay, I don't think there's any chat here currently. Okay, great. Okay, great. So I guess this can go out of hand real quick because then I mean, well, I guess whoever is using, I mean, I could implement for like the basic types, right? So a string, a byte, right? And I think a way to also do it is to also like implement it to be derived. Implement it to be derived on a struct that has so something like being able to do stuff like into bytes, right? And it's just going to work for this because all the types in here I can kind of already have the blanket implementation as well, right? One thing though I want to try and do is can I do something like, so if I comment this out, right? And if I do, let me see. So if I do something like implement um so implement into bytes for any type, right? Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to implement into bytes for any type, right? The problem is what is type T? So I think I need to specify what type T is. And now I want to implement let me to make this clearer. I think I want to use this where, yeah, but not this, right? I want to implement where T is bound, where T itself implements what's it called, to into the Q8, right? And then I think I can do this, right? Right. And so what this is, that actually an error? Let me see. So what's the error here? The error is saying iterator with, wait, what? Conflicting, wait, there's an, wait, it says conflicting implementation of trait into bytes for this. Because upstream creates me had an implementation of standard convert from this. Okay, so let me comment this out. Right. Okay. So the issue here is saying cannot reference here. Oh, I see. Because the trait bound vector U8 from T is not satisfied. Okay, so self. Oh, is that why it's suggesting for me to clone? No, that doesn't make sense because, yeah, I think the problem is, well, I mean, if I'm saying into, right, technically I want to consume the type, right? So if I do this, this might be a problem, but I think that solves the issue there, which means I probably don't even need to clone, right? Since it's going to get dropped, right? Okay. So, but the reason why I'm doing this is because so now any implementation, anything that implements into vector U8 or anything that implements from something, sorry, anything that is, yeah, so I think this is fine for now, right? Because well, vector U8 itself really is kind of the core library. So it's just like saying any other thing that vector U8 itself implements a from to, right? Then it can be converted into vector U8. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to try this out. But so it basically solves this, right? Because now we don't need to implement this. But I think it means oops. Wait, what? Yeah. It means we still need to implement this, right? And I think this goes, but then the error here is still what? So it's saying conflicting implementation of traits into bytes for type I3. Upstream crates may add a new implementation of traits from I3 for type this in future versions. So this is actually quite interesting. So this is complaining because of what I just said, because they're saying crates that I guess that we are using, or maybe like core crates, right? They may implement on vector U8, they may implement from I3 for that, right? And so it's this blanket implementation here is too broad. I think that's the problem, right? This blanket implementation is too broad, and it's just trying to cover itself up and saying, "Oh, this could have covered it," but if it doesn't, then there's a problem, right? Yeah, I guess this makes Rust really confusing. But yeah, I'm not going deep into that right now. So I'm just going to comment this, or yeah, I guess comment this. Wait, what? Okay. What's happening? Okay. So I'm just going to comment this out and implement this for string. And just to make the compiler happy for now, let me see. Can you help me do for person? Or no, you can't, can you? Let me come down here. Okay, so let me close this back. Let me try running that here. So if I say implement into bytes. Oh, so there's no intelligent implementation here. All right, no problem. Oh, there is. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, this is done, and then what this means is all this worked, right? But then there's a problem, right? Because I know we've been spending so much time on this, which yeah, it's I guess the problem now is actually our get, right? Because because what we are doing currently, we are not really using the into bytes function, right? So if we're actually using the into bytes traits, which is this into bytes, what that means is when we want to set here, right? Oh, what that means really is now I can modify my map to not store a type V, but instead store like a vector of bytes, right? Okay. Can I just do something like type my bytes? Okay, so type my bytes, give me this, because it's my byte, my byte, my byte, my byte. All right. Okay, so now the problem is saying, what's the problem saying here? The problem is saying parameter v is never used. Consider removing it or marking it as phantom data. Now, this makes our cache even more flexible because now we're saying, okay, I want my cache to be able to store different types, right? So I don't need you to create different like cache types, right? So we're getting closer to our dream. So I can get rid of this because we're no more using that in there, right? And then that means the definition here, I don't need to pass it in here. However, I think I still need to leave V, right? Because the type V is not constrained by the implementation. Oh yeah, I don't need it on the implementation as well, but I need it on. Okay, so I think instead of deleting that, I could like copy that, right? Wait, what? Copy, right? Copy and delete. Right. So what that means is here when doing get, exactly. So we're getting to our true dream now. I'm going to leave that for now. But I'm saying when doing sets, we can paste that here, right? So what we're saying now is when calling set, call set with a value that can be turned into bytes, right? And this should largely work, but this is saying key mismatch. Oh yeah, because it's expecting so what we can do here is like we can do into bytes, right? Yeah, I think that should be it. Right. So what we are doing here is we are saying, oh, this should be a reference to a value, but converting it into bytes. And that fixes this error here. However, there is a get method, right? Which is supposed to take our key and return the value, right? So now this is where the problem is because into bytes helps converting our keys into bytes, right? But when returning back, it needs to basically deserialize, right? And so yeah, and so now there comes the problem because our into bytes is saying change into bytes, right? I guess one way we can do this is implement another crate that implements from bytes. So when we have this from bytes, right? Which does this, right? So we say from bytes, and what into byte does is converts into bytes. This takes a byte, bytes, right? And returns self, where self is whatever is implementing this trait, right? And so what that means here is if v is like from byte, right? Actually, so this might be a problem because what if it can't be converted, right? So to make this more user friendly, we could change this into something like try from, right? But then now looking at this closely, I'm like, I'm basically I'm basically implementing. So what then was the problem? Because I'm basically I'm basically saying do this, right? But that's actually okay. So the reason why I didn't use the library types was because I wanted to implement this, right? But what can I implement like into vec u8 for i32, right? Yeah, I think this is usually a problem because so this is why I decided to implement my own type for conversion because back to the same issue. Only traits defined in the current crate can be implemented for primitive types. Define and implement a trait or new type instead, which is what I did. So yeah, back to the drawing board. Okay, so I guess this is fine for now because I also need to implement this for like different types. So to fix this, I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to like try. Oops. To make this more useful, I'm going to do try from bytes. And let's call this try into bytes. Right. And so what that means is I'm going to change all this to try. And instead of doing this, I'm going to return a result. And I guess an error. Yeah, what is an error? But anyways, so I'm going to return this as well. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. This should just be vec. Yeah, this, right. Okay. Why is it adding where self is sized? Other ways. So it's saying error. What is error? Consider importing one of these items. Core error. So let me import error, I think. But then that brings a question because what is error? Yeah, I mean it's standard error, right? So let's. Okay, we've not been able to implement a trait for a type not declared in the current file. Yeah, it's quite frustrating. But I think, I mean, I guess they have their reasons, right? So, for example, this commented out blanket implementation here is one of the reasons because if there's the invariant that says, oh, you can't just bind things that are not in your crate, right? I think it means that blanket implementations like this can just error out, not because you're actually violating anything, but just because you can't verify that maybe 2 or 3 versions down the line, there isn't an implementation where the type T and the inner type as well, which don't belong within, which may or may not belong within your crate, haven't been implemented outside, and then your code will break, right? So I think it's a good decision on their end as well. But yeah, good comments. So just to round this off, because I think I have like a couple of more minutes for today. My plan actually is to replace all this. I think there's Saturday serializer, I think. Right? So I want to what I want to do is use this serializer. Actually, is there even a new serializer now? I don't know. But I want to be able to just use like Saturday serializer. There's probably something more lightweight because I remember Saturday was quite bulky. I think it, yeah, or maybe they've figured out a way to separate things into multiple crates. But it had like so many stuff and it could end up slowing down your compilation and all that. Yeah, but for now, I'm just going to implement this just to make sure our tests pass. And then the final couple of minutes, I'm going to try and clean things up. So I'll move things into like their own modules, and just to make sure that everything is not just in one single place like this, right? And I'll call it a day. So next time we'll implement the serializer, and I would, and then I'll look into like building a network server over this particular cache. And then I think that would also help me kind of remember things around like syncing stuff between multiple connections, and just to make sure the cache is kind of, what's it called? The cache works across multiple requests. And I think, yeah, that would be a good way to also get back into the groove of things. Okay, so this, yeah, of course, this whole thing will fail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick search around Rust error handling. I know there's this standard error library, but I think Rust should have some new. I think one of them was made into the standard library. No, not this. No, not this. I think what I'm after is maybe this. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So standard error. All errors implement the trait standard error, right? And so any error can convert into a. Oh yeah, but here we need to box the type, right? I think what I want to do, I don't want to have to return like a boxed error. What I would like to do is just return my error type itself. Okay, so yeah, so it says typing. This is like creating a like a custom error type and implementing all this stuff, right? Just to make sure it conforms with the error trait. So let me see, simple errors. So there's a crate here that says simple error crate provides you with basic error type based on a string as we have defined it here. Okay, so using the simple error types, we have, okay, we can say like bill. Oh, so it just returns macros. Actually, let's check it out. This crate creates a simple error type, which implements this. The underline is a string as the error message. So we have bill, try with, let's check the macros out. Wait, okay, sorry. Oh, I thought it was there. So bill just throws that, right? Okay. Well, I love the way I've been kind of going in a simple approach to a simple approach to this. There are libraries. I'm sure there are like millions and millions of libraries that handle all these different like errors and so many other things I've been doing. But if I just start throwing libraries at this, I'm sure it would have been done since. So I mean, I feel at the ending of this my old stream on refreshing Rust will be to probably like replace a bunch of these things with like libraries for deriving this and all that. So what I'm going to do now, I will just create my own error type. And yeah, I'll just create my own error type and then I would use that for now. I'll use that for now and then yeah, and then we'll figure out the rest. Right. I feel the problem is just that it's just going to become like tedious because now I will need to do something like yeah, let me make this a pub, like pub struct. Let's just call this like conversion error, right? And I want to implement error. Okay, let me do conversion error that takes a string type, right? And let me see if Copilot will help me implement this. Implement actually. Yeah, implement this. And then implement this. And then implement last one, give me errors. Thank you. Oh, but it doesn't know what to do here. Oh man. Oh, actually, okay, so I think the reason why this isn't really giving me an issue is because so let's check the error type, right? I mean the error trait out, right? How do I get to the top? Just take me to the top, right? So if I check the error trait, the standard error trait, right? So this implements like this what's the word? This requires these 4 functions to be implemented, but each one already has like some default implementations, right? And what it says here is any trait implementing error should be bound by debug and display, and then it's going to use basically debug and displays implementation to kind of populate reasonable defaults, right? Which makes sense. And so just doing this too means I can safely implement this trait for conversion error, and it works, which is good. So I'm just going to return all this as conversion error and conversion error. Okay, I think this error is the popular. Yeah, that's so exactly. That's the error. I know. I mean, I know there was a popular. I think it's this error, right? Oh, is it this error anyhow? What was the difference again? Oh no, what? Anyhow rust, I think that's the word. Okay, so there's the anyhow trait and there's the this error trait. So this library provides anyhow error, a trait object based error type for easy idiomatic error handling in Rust applications. Okay, so this library provides a convenient derived macro for the standard library. Okay, so I think this error, because this error uses, but yeah, this error actually looks nice, and I think I'm just going to add that now because it will probably make things easier. Because I was just thinking about, instead of using strings, like use enums, but then it means like for my debug implementations, I'll need to match against the different types and return different strings and all that. So I'm just going to quickly add. How do you do? I think it's cargo hard, right? This error. Anyhow is the one for binaries. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, using these errors are better inside your libraries. And I think anyhows are like for if you are starting up like your main, like a main server, which I think I might end up using when I'm ready to create a front end like application that uses this library behind the scene. So yeah, let me do this. So while that is going on, let me refresh how this error works. So I think all I need to do is use error, define my enums, specify the error message, right? What's this? Wait. Oh, okay. I guess this is this a new Rust. Wait, what's happening here? Hmm. So is there like a from macro as well? From okay, okay. So I'm assuming this error also provides this from macro that probably does some auto magic here as well. Because I don't think that's from the from macro there is standard like inside standard Rust. Okay. Let me check. Wait, what's going on? Is this stock? I hold on, let me check. Let me check the what's the cargo.tomorrow? I think I will just add it myself. Because yeah, I thought, let me try that again. Oh, we just got stuck. Why? That was weird. Yeah, I guess it's been a while since I've since I've pulled a crate from crate.io. Yeah, take your time, take your time. Okay, so I guess while this error is coming in, right, I could just as well just start using it as well. So I think first thing is to get this in here. So let's get this. So importing this, and now, so I'm going to get rid of, let me pull this down a little bit, right? Okay, cool. And let me get some more space here. So I'm going to get rid of this, my default implementation. Thanks, Copilot, but I need to get rid of them. Right. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to do a standard enum, right? and I would call this conversion error. Actually, for now, I'm just going to do, since I'm thinking of this like a library, right? So I'm just going to do like cache error, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do conversion field, right? And I probably want this to have a string in there. And then I think I need to derive, is that it? Let me check. Yeah, I need to derive error, I guess debug as well. Okay. And then, wait, was that added by me? All right, cool. And then this, I can change, wait, what? All right, I change this to cache error and this as well to cache error, right? And then, so what this means now is, okay, I think I need to use the, yeah, conversion to bytes field. I guess I guess I do I need, okay, just to make it easier for whoever is implementing this, like implementing try into bytes for their application. I'm going to allow them to include what's it called? Wait, what's going on here? Okay, yeah, that's correct. Okay, so I'm going to allow them to include like an error message, right? And it's probably help them. I come from Go, so I'll probably just make the errors lowercase. Okay, so conversion to byte fields. I think there's a typo here. Conversion. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, and so doing this, yeah, and yeah, our depend. Oops, nope, don't do that. I'm not doing that. Right. So our dependency here, I mean, our dependency, this error dependency has been. Wait, what is this? How do you close this sign-in thing? I actually didn't notice it until now. Not signing into anywhere. Yeah, I don't know what that did. But yeah, so we've added this error, and now I think this whole thing should work. So to clean things up, right? I'm going to try and use what's it called, Copilot to speed this up. So let's see how that goes. Sorry, what just happened? Okay, no, I'm not. So I'm going to get rid of this, right? And I'm going to do implement into bytes. Oh, try now. So we are doing try, right? So implement try into bytes for string. Come on, you've got this. Yeah. All right. So I don't know if this will work entirely correctly, but I'm just going to repeat the same thing here as well. No, come on. I just did that. Oh, okay. I think this is a better try from. Oh, yeah. So try from bytes as well. Right. And then I'm going to implement try into bytes for. I think the second one we did was I2, right? So let's see if Copilot can help with this as well. And Copilot did, which is good. And one more time from bytes. Right. So, I mean, technically, Copilot really helps with like saving Well, helps with like saving keystrokes, right? And that's really good. So I don't know if this will work as expected because I'm not reading through the code. But if you're using Copilot, you definitely should read through the code. This technically looks like it should work, right? So it's like self-door into bytes. Okay. Um, the problem here, which some people might not notice, I'm okay. I think this is fine, right? Because into bytes returns a vector, and so there's no error there, which is fine. And here as well, notice that there's a question mark operator here to kind of propagate the error up if it fails. If not, we just okay that. However, what if do I need? Does that work? Okay. Anyways, I guess my question is, if from UTF returns results string, right? As it returns the results from UTF-8 error. Oh, I mean, so technically, hold on. I just want to confirm something. Let me just call this result, right? Yeah, result is a string, right? So can't I just return? Oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't work. I see. Okay, cool. So because it's a result type, so it's not really like I can't return the string directly. I need to wrap it in okay. So that was what was confusing me, because I was thinking that you could just like return it and Rust will like figure out, oh, the error type can be converted into the standard error type and should work. But no, I don't think that's how that works. Anyways, so and then for turning our integers into bytes, similar thing, right? We are doing BE, I think is big endian, yeah, big endian bytes, and to vec. So you might want to look into but if you are using like to big endian and then from big endian, you should be fine. I don't know if anyone in the comment knows a better way, because I would like to implement this for like for all the I's, right? Like I8, I64, I32. What's coming to mind right now is like doing a simple macro and then just calling that for all of them. But if there's a better way to do that for all integer types at once, please let me know in the comments. Thanks. Anyways, so that does that. Now we need to update like our cache methods itself, right? So we are saying try from bytes. So we need this to implement try from bytes, which fixes this, right? Let me see. I don't know, but I mean, we'll let the compiler help us. Right now, let's just follow the compiler's int, right? So trying to bytes also fixes that. And the final error we have here is, oh yeah, for person. So I'm going to also give Copilot another chance to help me with this, right? Because I want to implement the from and into. So I'm going to do implement trying to bytes for person. Thank you. And implement try from. Come on. Nothing. Thank you. Okay. But then I think there's some bugs here, right? So it's saying here, no method name trying to bytes found for type U8. Okay. To make this easier for now, so this is why I need to implement for all the integer types, right? And okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, I think I'll do for the macro type. So for now, just to make this work, I mean, it's also be nice. I think I'll do that because I haven't written macros in a while as well. And this, my old stream is kind of exploring all Rust has to offer while building a useful application or a useful app. And so I will definitely explore I would explore that, but I would try and also use like, is this Surday for deserialization as well, and kind of just get an LD mix of which is which. Or yeah, so I think I mean I think it's the macro way as well. I don't know, but I saw an error message that was like an integer type, and maybe it could have been that. Okay, so trying to fix this. So this error is also saying no function associated with try from bytes. I thought I just. Oh, okay. So I should do I32, right? Right. Okay, and um. Okay, yeah. So now we are getting more errors here, which is saying, yeah, it could not convert the error, cache error, this implicit. So what I'm going to just do here is, I think it's map error, right? I'm going to map error uh, to this. I'm just going to do cache error. Come on. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Right. And so basically what I'm doing here is I'm mapping whatever error I get into, as in the from UTF error, I'm mapping it into my conversion field error and then just propagating that upwards, right? And that solves that. Then there is this error here, which is saying mismatch type, expected type parameter V, found string vector U8, right? So value, our map contains U8 now. So what that means is now we don't need. Okay, so this is actually interesting because I want to return a type. I want to return a type that can be converted from bytes, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is to force the user to have an easy way to convert between types, right? So it's like, I mean, ideally, I could change this to return like just a vector of bytes, right? Actually, I think I've started using my bytes. Yeah. I could change my type to just return my bytes, right? And that solves this problem, right? But I want the user, to be able to. How do I do that? Because what I want really is I want to return. Okay, so I guess maybe what I need is something like, or maybe like, how does that work? Is it dyn v? Um. Okay, so looking at the error again, right? Here I'm returning a byte. I'm returning. Okay, so if vector is bytes, right? And I do try from. I'm sorry. What's it called? Oh, maybe I didn't think this through then, because my try from bytes is supposed to take a byte and return a type, right? And now I want to return. So ideally, what I want is in this, for example, in this my test here, right? I want to be able to do like dot get and do something like try, right? And be able to do specify something like person or something like that, right? uh okay, I think we're out of time now. And so this is not green, but I should be going live again on Thursday, I think. And I would figure this out and do the refactoring then and there as well. I guess this is exciting because I guess I'm learning more, and maybe I'll do some research as well into what I'm trying to achieve here and see how that would work. But yeah, in the meantime, thanks, and don't forget to subscribe as well. And we'll continue. I'm going to push all this code to the GitHub to like the GitHub repository. So you can check the description for the link to the GitHub repository, and so you can follow along as well. And any suggestions would be appreciated for the next stream.